Don't let the snow cover fool you. Camping season's right around the corner. What's going on? It's Samantha from Lone Crow Adventures, the channel where we talk about all things camping, hiking, and backpacking. And this time of year is when people are itching to get their camping gear ready to go have that first camp out of the season. And there's a lot of people thinking about taking up camping for the first time, but they're not sure about what kind of gear they should be getting. Today we're going to be talking about sleeping pads, and specifically the 5 big considerations you should have before you purchase one. Let's get into it. The first thing that you want to consider is the context in which you're using the sleeping pad. Now, for most new campers who are just starting out, they're going to be camping close to their car in the summertime, so they're probably not worried about weight, and they may not necessarily be worried about the size. I wish that I could say that there was one sleeping pad to rule them all that would work in all seasons and across all situations, but unfortunately that's just not the case. So if you found that you really like camping in the past and you're wanting to camp maybe in the shoulder season in the spring and the fall, or try backcountry camping, that car camping sleeping pad is not going to work for you because it won't be context appropriate. So if you're car camping, you're going to want to look for a pad that is designed for car camping. And if you're backpacking, you're definitely going to want to look for one that is more size and weight conscious, that is good to take into the backcountry. But if you're doing front country and backcountry camping, you're going to need more than one pad. Once you decide on the context in which you're going to be using your sleeping pad, the next thing that you're going to want to look at is the comfort. Now, if you're car camping, you're going to want to get a mat that is at least 3 inches thick, because that's going to keep you well cushioned from the ground, and it's going to be softer on your hips and your shoulders. If you're a side sleeper, you're probably going to want to go with a pad that is thicker, because our shoulders are really prone to collapsing forward when we're side sleeping. And when that happens, you can experience a lot of shoulder pain. So I would definitely recommend at least 3 inches if you're car camping. The other thing you're going to want to consider is the shape of the baffles. A lot of sleeping pads out there have what I call horizontal baffles, and this is where the baffle or the stripe that's on the pad goes from side to side. And there are many people who say that the horizontal baffle is best for people who prefer to sleep on their back. If you're a side sleeper, a stomach sleeper, or maybe you're a person that sleeps in various different positions throughout the night, you're going to be a lot more comfortable with something like an X-Ped that has a horizontal baffle, or even something like a Tensor Nemo 25 that has the egg carton shaped baffles. And this is going to more evenly distribute the weight across the different pressure points in your body. We've got context and comfort figured out. So the next thing you need to figure out is temperature. If you're a car camper or you're brand new with backpacking, you're probably what I like to call a fair weather camper, where you go out in June, July, and August when the weather's beautiful and you don't have to worry too much about the ground zapping away your cold at night. It's really important that you do actually purchase a sleep pad. I do see a lot of new campers who decide that they do not want to use a sleep pad and think maybe they can just put an extra blanket or something down on the ground. That'll work in a pinch, and I know when I was a kid I used to do this in the backyard, but if you're really going to get into camping, you want to have that added comfort and at least a little bit of insulation against the ground. So when you're looking at a sleeping pad, the insulation level of the pad is something that's called an R value. And those can range from about an R value of about 2 at the low end, which would be your July and August summer sleeping pads, all the way up to an R value of 10 or 11, which that's going to be those pads that are designed for neg 30, neg 40 deep winter camping. So really, if you're looking for a pad that is the most versatile, you really should be looking for a sleeping pad with an R value in the 3.5 to 4.5 range. That's going to give you that 3-season capability, where you're going to be warm if you go out there early in the spring and also warm if you go out there later in the fall. But it won't be good for winter. You're definitely going to need a specific pad if you're wanting to get into winter camping. And I have some recommendations down below if you want to know my favorite winter pads. But for most people, 3.5 to 4.5 R value is going to be the sweet spot. Unless you're camping in the deep south in the dead of summer when it gets really hot and really humid, then you could get away with a pad with an R value as low as 2. And you might be grateful for that little bit less insulation because nobody wants to lay there on their sleeping pad and just sweat. So we've taken care of context, comfort, and temperature, and now it's time for us to talk about pad size and sleeping pad weight. Now, if you're a backcountry camper into backpacking and canoeing, you're going to be more concerned about how heavy your pad is and how much real estate that sleeping pad takes up inside of your backpack. If you're car camping, you're worried about that to a much lesser degree. Although there are some really, really big sleeping pads out there that don't fold down very small. So if you have a smaller vehicle or if you have a bunch of kids in the car with you, you're not going to want to get super big sleeping pads. For instance, my favorite sleeping pad is the Xped Megamat LXW, and it's about this big around when it is rolled up, and each of the pads is about this long. So that's fine for Sarah and I when we want to go camping together because it's just the two of us. But if you had that same pad for 5 different people in a family, that's going to take up a lot of room in the car. So that's something that car campers don't necessarily think about. Definitely the weight of the pad really comes into the question when you're going to be camping away from your vehicle. If you're camping close, it doesn't really matter. But if you have to put that sleeping pad into a backpack and take it in the backcountry, you're going to want to have something that is at least lightweight. And I would be looking in that category of trying to get a sleeping pad that is under 25 ounces in weight. And you can accomplish that by purchasing really lightweight materials or by getting sleeping pads that are more narrow. A lot of backpackers like to sleep on a sleeping pad that is only 20 inches wide and that is tapered to fit with that traditional mummy style sleeping bag shape. I personally don't like that. When I go backpacking, I actually carry the few ounces more so that I can carry a pad that is at least 24 to 25 inches wide because that's what's comfortable for me. If you are a back sleeper and you don't move, you can get by on that little 20-inch pad. But if you're a side sleeper or you shift around at all when you're sleeping, definitely carry those extra few ounces and go with a sleeping pad that is a little bit wider. Another mistake that I see a lot of people making, and this applies to car campers, are people who maybe they go to Walmart and they buy the Coleman or the Intex queen size or double size air mattress so they can sleep on it with their husband or wife. And I am just going to encourage you now, please do not do that. Those mats, number one, are super low quality. They're probably only going to last you 1 season. And number two, they're not comfortable at all. There is nothing worse than sleeping on a low quality air mattress with another person. Every time that person weight shifts, rolls over, breathes deeply, you are going to feel it through the mat. It's just awful. And the other thing to think about is that most men and women are different sizes. Men typically are larger and weigh more than women do. So when you're on a low quality air mattress, what happens is that the heavier person is on this side and the lighter person's on this side, and every time that heavier person moves, this light person on the other side feels like they're going to be catapulted up through the top of the tent and launched into the woods. That was a mistake that I made early on in my camping career because that's what I thought you did. I thought you just went to Walmart and bought your camping gear. And what I have learned since then is that I absolutely refuse to share an air mattress with anybody. I'm going to have mine. You can have yours. That way everybody can move around and we don't have to worry about bouncing each other around on an air pad because that is the most irritating thing on the planet. So we've covered context, comfort, temperature, sleeping pad weight and size, and now we're going to talk about usability and durability. These are 2 things you definitely want to think about when you're purchasing a sleeping pad. If you're just going to be jumping around on it, let's say you've got some kids or something and they're just, throwing themselves around on the mat, you're going to want to have a high quality mat that can take that abuse. If you're headed into the backcountry and you're getting something that's much more lightweight and maybe a little bit more prone to puncture, but you know you can be careful with it, then that might be suitable for you. But make sure that you pick a mat that's going to be durable enough for the conditions that you're going to expose it to. The other thing to consider is the fill method. You don't want to purchase a mat of any description that you're relying on your own lung capacity to be able to blow up that air mat. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one, blowing up an air pad just sucks. Nobody likes doing it. It's probably one of the worst chores around camp. But the other reason is that the air that comes out of your lungs is much warmer than the air that is surrounding the sleeping pad. So you end up blowing up your sleeping pad, and then a couple hours later when you're actually ready to go to bed, you lay down on that sleeping pad and it feels like it's got a hole in it or something. It's partially become deflated because the warm air had a more dense volume when it went into the sleeping pad, and then as it cooled down, the volume of air in there reduced. Just kind of like how that annoying low tire pressure thing on your car goes off when the temperature gets cooled. When that air cools down, then the pad is not as full, and all of a sudden it's not comfortable, and then you got to get up and blow it up again, and that's just irritating. The other thing is that when you're blowing air into your air pad, you're introducing moisture. And when you introduce moisture into a vesicle that is devoid of light and devoid of air movement, you're just asking for mold and mildew to develop over time. So the better strategy is to use some type of an air pump, whether it's an electric pump or a battery powered pump. And a lot of these different sleeping pads are going to have a specific pump that actually goes with that pad that you can also purchase with a specialized fitting that fits right on that one specific pad and does a great job. Other pads are going to be able to be filled with a number of different pumps, right? Whether it's an electric pump, or maybe you've seen some of those cheaper pumps that they have at Walmart. Some of them will also come with a pump sack. I'm a really big fan of the pump sack because I don't need electricity, I don't need battery power, which means I don't need to worry about things not working when it gets cold. I don't have to worry about bringing batteries on the trail with me. And I can just use that pump sack, grab a bunch of air, push it down, and it actually fills it really, really quickly. Plus, I don't have to listen to the irritating pump in camp when everyone is trying to calm down for the night. The other option, if you don't like the pump sack and you don't like the actual battery pump, is that there are many mats out there that actually have a foot depressible pump where you can sit there with your foot and you can pump into the mat, or use a hand pump to pump air into that mat. There's a lot of ways to fill your mat that doesn't require the use of air coming from your lungs. That is the method. I would only ever use that in an absolute emergency because it's going to reduce the life of your sleeping pad, and it's also going to end up being a poorer quality sleep as that air cools down throughout the night. The last consideration, and a really serious consideration for a lot of people, is a price. Let's be honest, in 2026 and beyond, things are just expensive, and sleeping pads are no different. But that old saying, you get what you pay for. If you're purchasing some random sleep pad off of Amazon that you've never heard of before and nobody else has ever really used it, you may not get a good result. The reason that there are really well established outdoor brands is because decade after decade, these companies come out with high performance items that really last and really perform. So you may be paying a couple $100s for a quality sleep pad, but I can guarantee you the investment in that sleep pad, if you're serious into camping, is going to give back to you time and time again through endless nights of comfort sleep across multiple different seasons. So I would definitely recommend that you purchase from a well-known brand and a brand that is reputable and that you feel comfortable with, so that way you can have that gear for more than just one season. You don't want to purchase something super cheap because you're going to be disappointed. Those cheap pads have valves that fail, and sometimes along the seam there's just a little tiny air hole and it leaks over time, and maybe it works great the first few times you use it, but then after a year or so, all of a sudden you wake up in the morning flat on your back with that air pad completely completely pancaked out. So I would really recommend that you go with a company that actually warranties their product. And all the major brands out there are going to offer a lifetime warranty on their products. There are people who have purchased Thermarest products 10 years ago, and they've hiked the Appalachian Trail and the PCT, and then they get on that Continental Divide Trail, and that sleeping pad gets a hole in it or has a valve malfunction, and they've got that original receipt, and they've actually sent that into the company and gotten a replacement pad with whatever's on the market by the time they need a replacement. The company will honor that. Thermarest is a great company for that. But definitely purchase a good quality item, because when you cheap out, you're going to end up with a crap product and a crap sleep. Then you just end up having to buy a more expensive one anyway. So just bite the bullet from the get-go and buy the more expensive pad. I understand that purchasing a expensive brand name sleeping pad may not be possible for everybody. So I'm going to give you my recommendation for my favorite budget sleeping pad. And I'm going to pop that video right over here. You guys can watch that one, and I'll see you over there.